Well, today I'm very excited because we're doing a movie that is near and dear to my heart, a movie that is very much tied to my childhood. I remember watching this on TV. I remember seeing it on DVD. I remember buying it on Blu-ray, watching it on TV again, even after I had it on Blu-ray, which was inefficient because I watch it with commercials when I have the option to watch without commercials. But once you turn on TV, you just can't stop watching it. Near and
The
dear to my heart.
Thing.
I
I
remember,
got you. The Thing.
no, very, very close though, in the same sort of realm, I would say, as classics like The Thing and Alien and Aliens. This is one of those 80s movies that goes in that sort of upper echelon of that category. Um, no, we're talking about Troll 2. No, we're not talking about Troll 2.
I'm about to say, son of a bitch, I am walking away right now.
The origin of Predator is very interesting. So the writers started writing it around 1983. Apparently, the producer Joel Silver had made a comment about the Rocky movie, saying that I think after part 3, they were talking about where do you go with the series. He made a comment about, well, look, I don't know who Rocky's going to fight next. Maybe he should fight an alien. And somehow that inspired the writers, or that's maybe just a Hollywood story, a myth to make it sound cooler. But the idea was to inspire the writers to be like, oh, well, Rocky versus an alien. Okay, let's do some kind of action hero versus a villain thing. Thus, writing Predator. Thus, eventually gaining the interest of Arnold Schwarzenegger. 20th Century Fox bought the script.
Why? So they said they wanted to do Rocky versus Alien. Why didn't they get Sylvester Stallone, Rambo to play in this? I mean, to be fair, Arnold does an amazing job, but that's kind of a different comparison there.
Well, I don't know if they actually had Stallone in mind. When I think about Stallone in the movie, I'm just thinking maybe it's too close to Rambo to actually work. Like him already doing Rambo movies maybe makes him in the jungle here seem like kind of redundant or kind of like, doesn't really make sense. It might have been as simple as just that 20th Century Fox, having just worked with Arnold when Commando, sent him the script first. But probably the idea was to get some big action hero. And really, at that time, your two choices were probably Arnold and Stallone. This was kind of before Van Damme had taken off. This was, my God, please, I can't imagine having Steven Seagal in this bitch. But
you said this was before Van Damme take off. You want to bring Van Damme up real quick with this movie?
So Van Damme, basically right off the plane from where he came from, Brussels, I believe, where he's from. In his home country, hometown, he was like a karate champion, a kickboxing champion, some kind of fighting champion. So he comes to America to be sort of a kung fu karate star type of thing. And he gets this role as Predator. And my understanding is that he thought it was going to be like a bigger role or something where he got to show off his fighting skills. So he shows up on set, they throw a costume on him, and he's immediately unhappy. He's immediately complaining. He's like, apparently at lunch, he's giving looks to everybody. He's complaining that he hates the costume, that it's too hot. Now, mind you, they're filming this movie in Mexico in 100 degrees weather. So for the actors, this is a miserable shoot. This is like day in, day out in the jungle, 100 degrees. Funny story apparently is that most of the cast and crew got diarrhea because they ate at a local restaurant, which,
oh no,
when you go to a different country, the water's different, things are different. And now Arnold and the director actually, I don't know if they knew better per se, but apparently there's conflicting reports. With Arnold, there's a report that he did actually get sick. And then the rest of the set, he actually stopped eating. So he actually lost 20 pounds during the filming. But the director said that basically the trick is that you have to, before going a place to film, you research the restaurants. You pick one specific restaurant that's like a quality local restaurant, and you have them cater all the food. He says like tourist restaurants, like the low quality tourist restaurants, are the ones where everybody gets diarrhea or gets sick. So he's like, the locals don't get sick. They know what restaurants to go to. They're the quality restaurants, but it's all like a tourist thing. But unfortunately, most of the cast and crew got sick. So you had that going on, 100 degrees weather. So it's a miserable shoot. So Van Damme comes along, again, thinking that this is going to do something for his acting career, and he's put in a costume where there is no fight scenes where he's going to show his fighting skills. No one's going to see his face. This is really not going to like propel him to do blood sport or anything. This is just like whatever. And so he's out of here. Van Damme only lasts a couple days. Probably there is still like one or two scenes or shadows of scenes where there's some Van Damme hair, but it's a very, very minuscule amount, a very small amount of Van Damme. He's out of here. Get the complainer out of here. Van Damme. I mean, I love Van Damme, but this wasn't gonna do anything for him. The Predator. Nothing about the Predator role suggests that. Like, you imagine there could have been a cool scene where the Predator like throws a random roundhouse kick, but it wouldn't fit the character. You're like, he's like fighting Arnold, and he just throws out the Van Damme roundhouse kick. You're like, oh, that looked like Van Damme, but nah, it didn't work.
Well, it's funny
Um,
you mention all this because then the next actor they get is apparent, from what I've read, is an acrobatist to be able to do certain stunts, but yet I
yeah,
didn't see those kind of stunts. Is there something I'm missing with that?
I don't think it's so funny. I think with Van Damme, I'm guessing he got the role initially based on some show of athletic ability. Like, oh, this dude's athletic. It's kind of like almost like a stuntman role, basically.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing the acrobatic thing might have been like, okay, there are scenes where they're probably thinking Predator's gonna be like jumping from the trees and stuff like that. So you want someone that can handle stunts, someone that can jump up and down, run fast, do certain things. The actor they got, unfortunately, the actor actually died like 1991. I was only 36 years old,
Mm.
but he said that basically that when he got the role, he actually really tried to give some more personality to the Predator, like in terms of certain things like the head movements. I think he was proud of the scene where Arnold's trying to trap him and the Predator actually stops and sort of like looks around and like realizes there's a trap and then walks around. He was like certain moments like that, he was trying to put as much personality, maybe that wasn't the script, as he could to the Predator. And I think it does show in certain scenes where the Predator has to think about things. There is some personality there. But yeah, I don't know, like I don't know how much acrobatics there actually was, but maybe just like the idea of him jumping out of trees and stuff was gonna be like, oh, there's some stunts involved there, I guess.
Which we didn't get
Um,
many of those.
Not many, because you really don't wanna. So what happened was the Predator costume that Van Damme was wearing, the
Completely
studio
different from what we get.
the studio hated it, everybody hated it, nobody liked it. So what happened was Arnold had done Terminator just recently, right? So he was friends with Stan Winston, who's like pretty much like the special effects genius of Hollywood, like everything you could think of, Aliens, Terminator, Jurassic Park. This dude has his hands in everything. So he calls Stan Winston, who at the time is like pre-planning Aliens with James Cameron, and he tells Stan Winston basically, "Hey, we already started filming. Nobody likes the costume. Do you have any ideas for this Predator monster?" So Stan Winston really comes in the clutch and just like very quickly assembles a new design for the Predator costume, a new head. But the problem is they've already started filming. So what happened was it's actually ended up being a good thing. So basically they're filming scenes, but they don't really have a Predator, a costume. So it might be one of the reasons why in the first half of the movie, and it actually ends up working out well, is like you're not getting a lot of scenes showing the actual Predator. He's like underexposed, which I think works better. You don't get to like it's a mystery what this thing is. You just see his point of view, you see him in the shadows, but you really don't see his face. A lot of that's actually because while they're filming, Stan Winston's busy in the lab with his team, like designing the new costume and everything. So it's like they don't have access to it. So they're filming around that, still keeping the Predator there, but like not overexposing him, which it's kind of like I think that works to the benefit. It keeps them as a mystery. You don't know what the hell is hunting them at first. So, but it was like a happy coincidence. Just worked out that way.
So does that mean that the whole it being able to camouflage with its surroundings, you think that was made to be able to do that then, or was that always supposed to be like that?
I don't know because they did a lot of with the heat vision, or well, even like the thing where like the predator's blood, it's like leaking different places, right?
Hmm.
That's not a special effect. They use like some kind of lighting trick they were talking about in the behind the scenes to actually do that. But there was a lot of special effects done that were just like I feel like had to be planned in advance in terms of like what they wanted the predator to do. So I'm guessing it was all part of the design. The script apparently was a great concept, but I don't think they actually loved the script. So they hired Shane Black, who wrote Lethal Weapon. Long Kiss Goodnight, Last Boy Scout. Unfortunately, he wrote The Predator, oddly enough, but which doesn't make sense. Almost the rest of his writing credits are all like amazing things, but
And also, he was in a Predator movie, so why the hell did he fuck that up?
so he's only in the Predator movie because they wanted him to do a rewrite of the movie. And he's like, "Nah, I really don't want to do that." So they were like, "Okay, we'll cast you in the movie as an actor, and then while you're there on set as the actor, you can kind of quietly look over the script and give suggestions and stuff." They just wanted his input, so they cast him in the movie. But he said later on that ultimately that's why I got hired for the acting was so they could use my writing voice. But he's like, really, I didn't do anything in the script. He said we ended up going with the original script. So yeah.
Okay, so add another body to our account for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, like, at least his character gets like the two funny jokes he tells though, and
They
those
weren't
those
funny
were
though.
they weren't funny, but I thought it was. I thought the idea of it's funny that he's trying to get this joke over, but like he tries it the first time and like it doesn't get really a reaction, and he tries it again with Billy. I think the thing would have been ongoing, like him trying a new joke on each character. It would have been fun, and
Well, he
like
did it to Billy twice. It wasn't a different character each time. It was just Billy.
well, I guess a different joke. If you'd have tried a different joke each time, and like maybe each time doesn't get a reaction, maybe finally gets a reaction at the end. But unfortunately, yeah, he does meet his demise pretty quickly. Interesting because he's actually I don't know if this is by design. I was thinking about the Predator, the idea that the Predator killed he killed the least he killed the smallest, least threatening human first.
No, the girl
Like
still lived.
of the people that he was going to hunt, basically. He was never gonna hunt the girl because she wasn't a threat at all. So of the soldiers, he killed the smallest physically. So that might have been something where he's like building up to the bigger people, I guess.
Well, there's also the
Um,
fact that that was the one that was away from everybody too, less defended.
true, fair point. So the writers who did this movie, the rest of their IMDb, I thought you might like to know they went on to write Wild Wild West. So, but they also did some other things that really weren't impressive. Well, you could look at their IMDb when you get a chance, but this was clearly their shining moment, I would say. But if you write Predator, you do get to kind of you can offer a different role, different things, opportunities to write, and you probably can live off that for a long time. Although they sued 20th Century Fox a couple years ago to try to get the rights back to the Predator. So I don't know what happened with that, but
Probably after. When did you say they sued him?
I think 2021 ish.
That's why, because they saw 2018 and went, "What the fuck?
Give us back the rights.
give it back to us so we can actually do something with this."
Yeah, but they didn't write Prey. Prey was a whole different thing. So I don't know. It's probably they weren't properly compensated, or they felt they weren't compensated for the entire series, given that they created the idea of the Predator and all that. It is an amazing idea. So it's kind of like I don't want to say it created a genre, but I can't think of many movies like that where like you have tough guys being hunted by something a little bit tougher. It's interesting, I guess. It's kinda almost like it reminds me of surviving the game a little bit, although it's with an alien instead of people hunting them. Um,
It's
the other
probably
things
where
you
they
know
got the idea.
yeah, I don't know, apparently a lot of people think that was inspired by the Dangerous Game thing, which I think was inspiration for, like, Hard
Survive it.
Target, the game.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing they could reference from back in the day that maybe this was taken from, but to me, it feels like a completely original idea, especially for the '80s. The other things you need to know, basically background-wise, the director is John McTiernan, who might be the greatest action director of all time. When you look at, he came out the gate basically. He had a movie before this called Nomads, which I haven't seen, but based on the strength of Nomads, he got this. But then he wheels off Predator, Die Hard,
Ooh,
and the Hunt for Red October all in a row.
I still haven't
Which
seen Hunt for Red October.
oh, it's fantastic. All three are fantastic. All three are uniquely different, but Predator and Die Hard especially are probably in most people's like top 10 action movies of all time. So, but then and then he also did Last Action Hero and some other things. But then some weird stuff happened where he ended up going to prison. And He also did a terrible movie called Rollerball, which nobody should ever see. But
Never even heard of it. What is that about? Please tell me.
oh god, you can guess by the name Rollerball. I don't want to get into detail, but it has LL Cool J and the guy from American Pie. They were trying to make the guy from American Pie into like a big thing in Hollywood, like an action hero, and it just didn't work out. But look, again, if you make Predator and Die Hard, like again, you could go make 11 terrible movies in a row, and you're still in my good graces. Um, so, anyways, you got them in Mexico filming the movie. Um, Arnold coming off Commando, he's not quite a huge megastar yet. This is gonna be a movie probably that propels him to that, I feel like. He'd already done Terminator and Commando and Conan, but this was a huge movie in his progression to becoming a huge megastar. Um, now, one part of the movie I don't like, and I want to get your opinion on this. It's something they do in The Thing also. It's a little minor thing, and I found out that the director didn't want this, the studio wanted this. And it's the opening scene. It's showing the alien coming to Earth. They did the same thing in The Thing, and the thing is if you remove that in both movies, you have an amazing mystery element in the first half of the movie. You have an amazing like, "Hey, this is literally just an action movie. I don't know what's coming." It would be like and From Dusk Till Dawn, like, when you get to that twist, it'd be like at the beginning of the movie, they had shown something about vampires at the beginning, so that you already know it's a vampire movie, and then you get to the twist, and you're like, "Oh, well, I kinda already knew this." Showing the alien element at the beginning of the movie, I'm just like, "Man, if you just cut that first 30 seconds out and just start with the helicopter,"
Hmm.
I'm like, "Man," I'm like, "You have such an amazing mystery, I don't know what's going on element when you cut that out."
Well,
Luckily, by halfway through the movie, you do kind of forget that whole opening, but I did think that was a missed opportunity in both this and The Thing. Don't show us the alien coming from outer space.
well, here's my 2 cents on that. First off, you already told me it was a bad idea the minute you said the studio got involved. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but usually when the studio gets involved, that's when everything starts going downhill. Because most of the time, the studio is people who don't actually make the movie; they just give you the money, so that way you can make the people who know how to make a movie can.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then they're like, "Oh, well, I gave you money, so now you have to do what I say." It's like, no, fuck you. You just ruined my movie by because I guess that was from what you were saying. That was part of it. They wanted that mystery aspect, and that would have been amazing to have that mystery aspect. The Thing, honestly, that mystery aspect would have went out the window the minute you see what happened to their dogs. But
Yeah. Yeah, the thing more I think going into it, you already know this is kind of an alien movie. I think Predator, the first half of the movie doesn't give off the vibe that it's gonna lure you in with the idea of, a bunch of macho guys in the woods doing some kind of military mission, and then it's gonna flip itself on its head when they become the hunted. But you really don't know that, and I don't know what the marketing trailer was like back then either in terms of what people knew, but this is one of those movies that if you cut out that opening space thing and just watch it for the first time, it feels like a good halfway twist halfway through to be like, "Oh my god, like, this is not the movie I thought I was getting." To that point, the studio wanted this to be more of a straightforward action movie, and the director, McTiernan, he's pushing this to be more like a go down like a suspenseful horror path. So they're kind of at odds too because okay, we have Arnold, we just did Commando, we have like a bunch of macho dudes in the woods, give us a bunch of like, action scenes. He's like, no, he's like, we need this cast of characters to actually be scared by this thing that's hunting them. We need them to be, you know, there has to be a suspense here, a build up basically. It can't be just action scene, action scene, action scene. But that I'll get back to that in a little bit because that plays itself out in a funny way also. Um, One thing that stands out to me about the movie is the characters, I would say. You get kind of a traditional ragtag group of soldiers, but I think they do all have like kind of a fun, unique personality. You got Billy, you got
who's the silent badass?
Silent Badass, but also he starts to unravel and kind of lose his mind as things go on. Oh, wait, actually, no, I'm sorry.
That one
I'm
was
thinking
Mac.
I'm thinking of Mac. Mac's the one that's slowly unraveling, loses his mind. Billy is a silent badass who
Has
kind of is
a
the he's the first. I don't know if he has like a sixth sense. He's kind of the first one to know some shit, weird shit's going on.
so I want to say I feel like Billy is he's a hunter. He obviously goes out hunting, so he knows the feeling of hunting prey. But then I guarantee you, he's probably gotten into a position where he feels like he's being watched by something that could kill him in return. So, because once you're hunting, there's a chance of running into a bear, chance of running into a mountain lion, and if you get that feeling, you know, people know how that feels. Him being a hunter is like, oh no, we screwed.
Yeah, he very early on, you can see him looking up in the trees. He can sense something's watching. He throughout the movie basically kind of sums up things. At one point, he's like, "We're all gonna die," and
Well,
also for him to say that, I buy that this dude is like a crazy badass. So if he's worried, it makes me worried as an audience member because I'm like, "Ooh, if this dude is scared, worried, that must mean they're in some shit."
well, the
Because
thing
he feels like a badass.
I'm also annoyed about is because he was built up so much just for us to get a potential fight scene with him and the predator when he finally stops on that tree, pulls out his knife, cuts himself so the predator because he probably still thinks it's an animal, so he's thinking blood, the thing's attracted by the blood. So and then all of a sudden it just cuts away and we just hear his screams like fuck you.
You know what's funny
That
is I I thought he had a chance. I was like, the way they built it up, I was like, man, it's gonna be tough because like, yeah, I mean, I don't now that I don't know. Apparently, I looked that up and I thought maybe there was like some deleted scene there or that they didn't have time to film it or something. But no, it was in the script. It was meant to be like an off-screen thing. I guess that was one of those things where they're just like use your imagination to think about what happened.
so I don't
But
want to use my
I
imagination with that.
I would have liked to seen something there because I think we get a sense that probably the predator probably treated Billy with respect, obviously, but it was so quick though. I mean, he screams like 5 seconds later. So whatever
Right.
Predator did was like there wasn't much of a fight scene there. It was like a straight
It was
he got
probably
murked. He
so
got
what I
murked.
feel like because this predator the granted this predator I will say is smart. It knows when to but let's face it, during the whole ending fight scene, that predator would not have turned his camouflage off if it didn't get damaged. This one I
Mhm.
guarantee you walked up to Billy still in the camouflage. The only thing Billy saw was the blades and probably froze because he had no idea what he's looking at. The sensory overload would have just messed his mind up to the point where the predator just let off a slash and that was it.
I do think Billy suspected something supernatural or alien though, because he in the by the midpoint movie, he's already determined that's it's not a man. I don't think he was thinking like an animal. I think he was thinking something not of this world. But I mean, you're right. I mean, no matter what you're thinking, if something comes up to you like a literally like in that sort of weird camouflage thing, yeah, you're gonna be kind of like thrown off guard. You're like, wait a minute, how do I even fight this thing? Like, what the hell?
Right. It's like I
It's
can't see its
it's
vital points.
you'll be in shock basically. So we should talk about basically the predator lore, well, or at least what we know,
It comes
what
out
the
when it's
predator
hot.
is. Comes out when it's hot. Um, now a lot. So one thing I'll say is that apparently there's a lot more backstory if you dig deep into like the comic books and like different novels and things like that, which I haven't done at all. But but what we've been told and through the movies basically is that essentially the predators are all about the hunt. They're all
Mhm.
about the hunt is like a sport for them. So they want to, I mean, they'll hunt xenomorphs as like just a, as a hunting thing basically. Um, so we can surmise the predator came to Earth here, to this jungle, this specific area. He's already killed
You already
one
killed
military
one.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's killed them. So probably the idea was, which makes a lot of sense, is that of the human race, I'm trying to find the most badass humans to hunt because that's going to be the biggest challenge. I don't want to just show up in small town basically and kill the cashiers and the pizza delivery guys. I want to find the soldiers on Earth basically and kill them. So he, I guess, somehow finds this place where there's a military mission going on, skins all these people alive pretty much, and now here comes Dutch and his crew, which maybe the Predator hadn't planned on, but was like, whoa, he scouts them in the first half of the movie. It's like, whoa, this might be the ultimate challenge to take out these guys.
So I actually got a theory on why he went to the jungle, and that's because if that thing finds someone in the jungle, they know how to hunt, set traps, they know how to defend themselves, they know how to survive in this kind of environment. And with this thing wanting that hunt, wanting that sport, that's the best place to go. And also, this isn't it. I don't think it's its first time, unlike Predator 2, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So that's just
Well,
my theory on that.
well, and is it true also? I guess we could surmise that the hot weather, some of that is because he's going by your body radiating heat, and he's using that so it's easier for him to see you basically, or he can see you when he's checking the heat, the temperature of your body, pretty much. So in hot weather, it's going to be more like, okay, I can actually spot my prey basically. Um, yeah. So I mean, he's there and he's skinning people alive pretty much. Now Arnold's group is there because they've been sent on
A mission to
suppose
survive, to save a hostage from a taken down plane, a helicopter.
yeah, and Dylan, who's working with the CIA now and pushing too many pencils, apparently,
Mhm.
he knows better. He's actually set them up to. This is more of actually like an assassination type of thing of like I guess a rogue whatever, basically village.
Uh,
What I guess what they call
so,
guerrillas.
well, guerrilla warfare is pretty much using the environment to your advantage. But in this case, you find out that these are Russian operatives who are
Hmm.
there to apparently eventually invade wherever. I think they said they're in Cambodia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're eventually planning to invade a village or a big town in Cambodia. And not only is Dylan wanting to stop that, but for CIA purposes, there's also plans on how to on where posts are set up and all of that, so that way they have a way to intercept that.
So Dylan has tricked Dutch and his crew basically because I guess he used to. We can surmise from the relationship that Dylan used to work with Dutch. They
Yes.
obviously have a past, and now Dylan probably took a higher paying job at the CIA, and now he's like, okay, we need a really elite group to go here and do this, and I can use Dutch's group. Um, now something crazy though, it's like I guess Dylan's being played too because this is going into like now the sequel. I guess in part two, they interviewed Jake Busey's not Jake Busey, Gary Busey's character on set. Because Gary Busey, I guess, is like would have been the same sort of group that Dylan was working for from part one.
Hmm.
Um, so he said essentially, in terms of his character, he said that the truth about part one is that, and I don't remember like specific the story about part two as I'm thinking about this, but he pretty much Dylan, the CIA sent Dylan, but the whole thing was actually for them to draw out the predator. So this is really like the whole thing is to draw out the predator, not like so they've given Dylan a story and now Dylan's given them a story, but the whole thing really is that the CIA knows about the predator and is trying to draw him out to capture the predator. So now that's obviously something that's added in the sequel, so that really doesn't apply to the canon here. But I guess it makes sense in the big picture. Like, really, this is really all about actually capturing the predator, which is mind blowing. It doesn't make sense within the movie and all that, but
I will
maybe.
say, if you, the whole point was to now, granted, as you said, that sequel lore, so that way they have something to add for that sequel. But
Yeah.
if your plan was to capture this thing, why the hell did you not tell anyone so that way they could stop our commandos from murking it?
Well, nothing makes sense with that because then also you would have had a backup team at the end to try to come in. Basically, there'd have been a lot more. None of that makes sense here. Within this story, I'm going to say it makes the most sense that legitimately this is just the CI mission is to just like kill this village, whatever, get those plans and all that, and that's it. And then the story just changes. Um, Interesting to me is like if the movie had no predator, I would still be interested just in the story of them being tricked into doing this mission. You could have just made action. You could have made a generic action movie about that, and it still would have been pretty interesting with this group of characters.
Yeah, because then you'd
Um,
have to. Then there'd either be like one of the guerrilla Russians either surviving, and that Russian just happens to be freaking insane, or your own. The CIA sends a whole nother group in, one that's 100% CIA expected to keep their mouth shut to then intercept and kill off our characters that potential that to them is like, well, they know what's going on now, so kill them.
yeah, you could have had whatever they get ambushed, but basically some kind of great, just them stuck in the jungle against the bad guys movie here, and it still would have worked. So that's what I find interesting is like that's what I'm saying in that first half of the movie, the plot you're given, even without Predator, you're like, oh yeah, this is just gonna be like a fun action movie. So, but that kind of wraps itself up like halfway through because they now okay, Arnold said that, Dutch said that we're a rescue team. Man, they hit this damn village and kill everybody. They don't seem like some innocent rescue team in this scene. They're over there just like taking bodies, taking
I
names. So
I do want to say,
no.
that it's like you're a rescue team. You're there to save hostages. So you know what we do? Blow up every freaking house there is.
Blow up everything. The idea of hostage is such an afterthought for them. Just like kill everybody in sight. I'm like, what?
And the
What
whole
kind of
beginning
rescue
is
team
like,
is this?
and the whole beginning is like, we're not assassins. Like you want to rephrase that comment for me,
Uh,
please?
Jesse Ventura with his freaking gun and all that. I'm like, y'all are some pretty aggressive. Y'all are a very aggressive rescue team. I mean, I don't know if I'm buying that from that from that scene.
It seemed
um,
more like hell. Even Rambo, when like was it Rambo 4? That was just called Rambo. When he goes after a whole thing, at the very least, there's people still alive for him to rescue.
yeah, yeah. So, but it wraps itself up pretty quickly. Like about 45 minutes in, you have them take out the village. They take what's her face as not really a hostage, but take her because Dylan thinks that she can provide some intel. So they bring
But
her
she
along
only
as well.
speaks Spanish.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess she's doing the Jackie Chan Rush Hour thing where she's tricking them, which is smart. She can list everything they're saying, and they don't know that she speaks English. So, um, but yeah, we get a lot of. There's a fun thing too. So Dylan, one of the reasons we're reviewing this movie right now is because Carl Weathers passed away, and it feels like a great movie to pay tribute to him. Uh,
Carl Weathers passed away, so we're going to review the movie where he dies in.
the problem he dies in a lot of his movies though. He dies in the Rock. I don't know if you've seen the Rocky movies, but spoiler, he dies in the Rocky movies too. So,
Isn't that
uh,
like part 4 he dies in against Dolph
yeah,
Lundgren's character?
yeah, yeah. Uh, so I think this Rocky, and then those are his two most iconic things. Now later on, we can maybe review Action Jackson, which is just lesser known, but still a fun star vehicle for him. Um, but Dylan's character immediately is an outsider. Like the whole team is screwing with him all throughout the movie, pretty much.
Well, they found out he
Uh,
lied to him. I'd be messing with him too. It's like, dude, how
even
dare
before
you?
that, even before
Oh,
that, Jesse Ventura is messing with him on the helicopter, spitting on his shoes. The one dude, Mac is basically saying like, "I'll ghost your ass. Like I don't care who you are," or he says, "You're you're ghosting us."
it's like I will
So
bleed you.
I'll bleed you. That's all before he's revealed as like a turncoat. Um,
Well,
but again,
really, when Max said that to him, he almost gave their position away. So, and
yeah,
to be fair, I give Max some credit. He did it for a reason.
yeah. Again, I love all the characters here for the most part. Um, Mac, Billy, everybody. So the turncoat thing, like him betraying them. The good thing is that so McTiernan said when he was like looking at the script, he was like, okay, okay, I see what we're doing here. We're trying to make like a human villain. But he quickly decided, which I think was the right move. He was like, listen, the second half of the movie, I want it to be basically them versus the Predator. Like, I don't want this, like, we don't need a human villain. Realistically, what's gonna happen is we need everybody on the same page working together to try to take out the Predator and get at the chopper. So what happens with Dylan is because they very early in the movie do that thing where, okay, yeah, he sold them out. But I think it's good. They get over pretty quickly, and pretty soon it's like they're all on this back on the same page working together. And Dylan
Kind of
gets a
have to be in this situation.
But Dylan gets a redemption arc basically where by the end, he's almost like sacrificing himself to give them more time. So he kind of goes the full circle of being a quasi-human villain to by the end, like just like being back to being like I'm one of the team essentially. So it was a good character arc for sure.
He could have
Um,
helped Mac a little better though.
no, I don't think so. He had a good plan against a human. Against see at that point, him and Mac both know they're not dealing with a human being. But the idea with Mac was, hey, you do this, I'll flesh him out towards you. But I mean, the Predator was like 5 steps ahead. So
It's
which
because the Predator. So I do have a thing. The Predator. They've mentioned, at least Billy has told him, "Hey, we're being watched." He
yeah.
says that a couple of times throughout this movie. So they decide, "Hey, let's go ahead and set up all these traps while
Mhm.
you're being watched." Hello. That's not a good idea. Don't set up traps while you're being watched because the predator is probably looking at y'all like, seriously?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, when could they set up the traps then? It's like the only thing they can figure, so I think they're thinking that the predator's not watching them at all times. The predator goes away and maybe just lives in a
I
shack
guess
and watches sitcoms for, like,
I
the
guess
rest of the
that's
day.
what happens, or the predator decided to play dumb and just purposely get itself caught in their trap.
No, I think the predator like I said, I don't think the predator just literally just sits there and watches them all day. I think the predator goes away and comes back. Well, the thing too also is I think the predator they wound him at some point, so he does have to go away to tend to his wounds.
Yes.
So that's one thing to consider also. Which, of course, brings the classic line of, "If it bleeds, we can kill it." Such a pop culture line, but I don't think everybody knows that that comes from this movie. So, one thing actually I should mention too, so we talked about how basically the studio wanted one thing and that McTiernan wanted to go more into the horror suspense side, so the studio asked for, like, we want, like, a big action scene here in the middle pretty much. So McTiernan, like, did a funny thing where he was like, "Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have
I know what scene you're talking about.
I'm gonna have basically all of them just shoot the shit out of the jungle, basically, shooting at nothing, not hitting anything. And he's like, this whole thing is a joke, basically, to be like, here's your action scene. I'm gonna show you these guns don't mean shit. So it's like a funny in play of like, okay, this would happen in a generic action movie, just them like letting off 5,000 bullets in the woods, but it's just ironic and funny. They're not hitting anything. It's just like
Well,
him making fun of the studio, basically. Here's your action scene.
which is funny because I'm sitting there just asking myself this whole time, it's like, how many bullets does these clips carry? With those kind of rifles, I would assume 30, but they're shooting off like 60, 70, 80, not reloading ones.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, with Dutch's character, the way because Dutch throughout the whole movie is not just the ending, but the whole movie, he shows he's a think. He does think. He does know how to circumvent certain things. But all of a sudden, he's just sitting there blasting instead of just sitting there staring like, what the hell are you shooting at?
Yeah, so Max starts shooting and they all come and join him. But I'm like, for all of them, I'm like, I was thinking something was up because I was like, this makes no sense. They all sit and come beside him and nobody can see what they're shooting at. They're just like aimlessly shooting 5,000 bullets.
Well, they're trying to
Anybody would
make
have
a
been like,
clearing for that helicopter.
hey, Mac, what are you shooting at? Because Mac just like has lost his mind at this point. By the way, showing the skinned bodies, I forgot how actual like gory that actually looks. That's actually like a very gory scene. Like,
Well,
oh.
yeah, it's skin bodies. You have no skin. You're just looking at muscle and sinew at that point.
Yeah, and I'm all about practical effects, and I love this movie shot on location and just being in the jungle, knowing they're in Mexico, everything you're seeing is real. It makes it kind of an experience. But then I'm like, ooh, practical effects wise, these skin bodies,
They look
it kind
like
of makes
skinned bodies.
it does make me cringe a little bit.
I know what they did
Um,
with that. Okay. It's kind of the
yeah,
poltergeist effect. What they did was they went to a morgue, asked that mortician, hey, do you have any skinned bodies? And they're like, yes, actually, a serial killer just skinned these 3 bodies. Here you go. You may have them for your movie. Just like
yeah,
Poltergeist when the guy brought in actual skeletons to do the damn movie. And that's why that movie was cursed.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I think the movie does a good job also of like you slowly get to see the characters. I'm trying to think of all the movies I've seen with Arnold where he wasn't, like, larger than life. He's not larger than life in this movie. He's actually, like, scared. He's a tough guy in the movie, but he's also, like, worried and scared and, like, has no idea what's going on, and, like, I don't remember him ever being like scared in any other movies that he's in either. So it's like kind of like and it's interesting. I want to say it's one of his best acting performances because his facial expressions really do a lot here, doing a lot of heavy lifting with his facial expressions. Um, yeah, so unfortunately for them, they do catch the predator, but I mean, obviously the predator shoots the
It's
shit out of the net,
and
um,
hops away like a monkey. It's
and
full of
and
monkey
Mac
DNA.
and Mac is like, "Yo, I'm coming." I mean, Mac, I would have liked you to sneak up on him, but he's like, "I'm coming for you." He's like talking to himself a lot as he's tracking down the predator,
He
and
lost his
this is
mind.
and that's what I'm saying. That and it's a good character arc for Carl Weathers for Dylan to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go help out Mac," even though I think him
I'm
and Dutch they silently acknowledge that you can't win this, buddy. That's probably it for you. Yeah, it's unfortunately the plan they have to take out the predator seems legit. It's just that, and Mac is like crawling through and stuff. It's just like the predator's 10 steps ahead. What can you do? He's already on top of you, blowing your brains out. So
Yeah, well, and then as for Carl, he loses his arm, tries to shoot, and then what was it? Off-screen kill for Carl.
well, you see him get stabbed, but
Yeah.
I I, I guess I guess props to him to have the whereabouts to. I'm sure if your arm gets shot off, you're in shock.
Oh yeah.
But he still has the whereabouts to quickly turn
Try to
around with
use.
the gun. Yeah, so he went down like a warrior, basically. I'm sure again the predator had to probably respect the battle there to a degree.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the predator respected one person so much he took off his mask to show him his true face, and it
Well,
wasn't Billy.
he's one ugly mofo.
And that's all
Uh,
because, let's face it, this predator would not have went after him without the camouflage, unless the camouflage was damaged, which it was.
mhm.
And and then of course so you damaged predator multiple times. You now have damaged his equipment to where he can't use it. So it's like, you know what? I like you. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
Well, the other thing too is the fact that the predator knows that this dude had somehow camouflaged himself, set a trap, all this stuff. The predator slowly like gains a lot of respect for Dutch. In terms of the what you describe, it's so funny. Every movie, unfortunately, Predator falls into the category of all the slasher movies where our villain either has to, it's either one of two things. Either throughout the movie, they've been an efficient killing machine, and now they get to the sole survivor, and now they're either going to give a long-winded speech, or instead of being an efficient killer, they're going to suddenly become clumsy and goofy, and somehow, for some reason, want a fight scene. I get it with the Predator. It makes more sense because he's like, okay, I respect him so much. I want to do hand-to-hand combat.
plus,
But but that
plus Dutch
but
didn't have a weapon at this point, so
I
it's
guess
no
okay.
longer sport. So he has to do it with his hands, and he's given Dutch that opportunity to fight back by taking off the helmet, because obviously Dutch hits that helmet, it's not going to do shit.
I get it. I get it. I just the movie's super tense, and then you do have to laugh for a second when he just starts beating the shit out of him physically. I guess this is where the Rocky versus Predator inspiration came in the script
The,
writing. They were like, all right, let's get that fight scene now.
what I thought
Uh,
was goofy during this fight scene wasn't even the fight scene; it was the constant cutting to the infrared sight. I'm like,
mhm.
guys, this fight scene is your final fight. It should be the most tense part of this movie, and yet you cut to this very goofy look of us watching an infrared Arnold just getting mollywopped. Why couldn't we just kept this
I don't mind
real?
that.
I did, because it takes the intensity out for me.
I think the two things are that probably given the budget and that it's like a kind of a night scene. I don't think the lighting was going to be good enough to actually like really see the fight scene as well as you would like to see in it. And I guess the other thing too is just to like show the predator's perspective of whooping his ass. But honestly, this is not a movie where I needed a fight scene. I just feel like to me that's the one part of the end where it's like gets into like action cliche stuff. It feels like the movie's better than that to have like that, but it's not how the predator dies, so I'm okay with it. It's not actually the how the predator loses. It's still Arnold using his intellect. That's the key thing here. It's like you have a bunch of macho guys in the woods. You have kind of a generic action movie setting, but then those characters are getting hunted by something greater than them. Their guns aren't going to help them. Their their testosterone's not going to help them. The muscle's not going to help them. It's going to have to be you're going to have to like intellectually outsmart the predator using your tactical warfare, and
Well,
he does ultimately. So
well, to be fair, I do think the guns would have helped if they actually didn't use all their bullets on the
oh yeah,
forest, and
of course,
two actually hit their target.
oh, of course. But that's the other thing. Shooting the predator, as we can tell, it's hard as hell. So, uh, but I do like to go back to wrap around the beginning. I do think the Predator shows a lot of personality when he's like figuring out this dude's trying to trap me, and Arnold's like, what are you waiting for? Do it! Come on, do it! Great. And then the one thing I'd say though is the Predator does seem like a jackass in terms of like trying to self destruct and take out Arnold with him, and starts busting out laughing. I'm like, hey, aren't you supposed to respect him? Like you're supposed to just
So,
die honorably. Why are you trying to take him out here?
so I think that is mainly so the government, even though, as you said, they pretty much already know about the predators. I think that's so the predators can keep themselves hidden as long as possible. They don't leave a trace of what they are behind.
Mm.
So no
Okay.
matter what, whether that predator succeeded in whatever it wanted, its hunt, whatever they succeeded in its hunt, or it
Mhm.
failed, it was making sure no one was going to be able to live to be able to tell what it was. So that way their species can still thrive on these hunts on Earth.
Yeah, I even read one where that somewhere said that basically the predators they don't mind dying if they've actually had a good hunt. But
No,
that's
this one didn't. He was laughing about it. He was
he's happy.
happy.
And the future predators, like the one in part two, uses more technology. So I feel like this one using less technology means maybe that this one's more advanced in terms of just like relying on his fighting skills.
And also
He's
probably older because I feel like the one in part two is younger. So
yeah.
So you kind of
I,
get that, kind of like nowadays, most like me, I don't like newer technology, but
yeah.
someone younger than me gets that newer technology. They know how to use it better. It's kind of the same deal, I feel.
I think the predator in the first one's an experienced hunter who wants a challenge, but he's not out here to prove himself, right? Like that. He's just this is like a fun thing for him, basically.
Hmm.
Or there's an idea I read about that would be funny too. It's like on the Predator planet, basically, their idea of like a vacation package is being sent to Earth to hunt. So it's like this dude is like an accountant predator back on his homeland who's like taking a week of vacation time and has bought a package to be sent here to do this and goes back to his 9 to 5 over there on that planet.
I mean, to be fair, I could still see that being the case because they still need
Yeah.
some whatever technology they have to work with in their planet. They have to keep it up, which means someone has to work it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um the other two things I like about the ending is that when Dutch finally gets rescued, it's not a traditional our hero survived
Happy
celebratory
ending.
ending. No, he's in the helicopter looking like he's about to face a lifetime of trauma and PTSD. He looks like basically he's thinking like all my men are dead. What the hell just happened? It's a
He's
very
most likely going to
traumatic.
lose his career.
Yeah, and I guess the canon after this is that he picked up some kind of radiation from this whole thing, gets taken to a hospital where the CIA like question him, they don't believe him or something like that, and then he just disappeared from the hospital.
Hmm.
Uh, but who knows? He was also at a certain point supposed to be in part two. But yeah, I like that it's not like a happy typical action movie ending. It's just like looks like traumatic. And then I don't know. Did you watch any of the end credits?
No, I didn't.
The credits have that fun thing where the actors all turn to the camera and smile, or like
Oh,
or
okay,
give some kind of
yeah.
gesture.
Kind of like a
I
80s
love that.
sitcom opening.
I love that because you get to see all of them. They've been all these characters have been killed off, but it's just reminding you like, hey, this is all for fun, basically. Don't take this too seriously. It's a classic 80s sitcom thing. Although the weird thing is they cut to Arnold and he doesn't have a thing. They're just using a cut of him from the movie. It's almost like he was like, I'm not participating in that shit. You want me to smile at the camera? So, but watch that if you get a chance. It's like a fun. I wish more movies would do that also. I did enjoy also that they didn't in any way try to tease. I think felt like most generic action movies would have tried to force some kind of romantic thing between the girl and Arnold.
Mm.
And this movie doesn't even like go there, which I appreciate. This movie doesn't need a romantic subplot or anything going on there. I
Arnold
feel like
already had a wife. I'm sure he's fine.
yeah, but most movies always have like a leading lady who's there to add a romantic subplot. This movie didn't force that, which is amazing. Um, just some fun things from the set. Jesse Ventura, who was a wrestler, he uh, he was very competitive with Arnold about who's stronger, basically. And I guess when they're getting their fittings for their costumes and stuff, like the wardrobe department had told Jesse that his arm was 1 inch bigger than Arnold's arms. So Jesse went to Arnold and he said, "Hey, let's measure our arm size, and we'll bet like a bottle of wine or champagne on it, basically." And then Jesse lost the bet because he didn't know that Arnold had already told the wardrobe company to tell Jesse that his arm was 1 inch smaller. So Arnold set the whole thing up, being an asshole. So poor Jesse Ventura thought he was on the know, but got set up big time Arnold there. So
Overall, I like the score of this movie the best, in my opinion. I really love
oh,
especially
I
the
didn't
opening
I
score.
didn't I didn't mention that the score is fantastic.
Right. I love the score the best in this. The acting is really well done, especially since I'm not a big fan of Arnold's acting. I like his action. I'm not a fan of his acting, but this, as you brought up, has to be one of his best acting roles because his face really sells it.
Think about the last 30 minutes when it's just him and the Predator. There's no dialogue. He's just like literally conveying everything through his physical movements, facial expressions. The last 30 minutes is pretty fantastic from an acting standpoint. I think it's a yeah, I don't think anybody's really gonna act like Arnold's a great actor.
No,
But
but
he sells the worry and everything in this movie pretty well. So
and then and the action scenes are pretty well are actually pretty well done. There's no I guess my big complaint is your cutaway death of Billy. I feel like he should not have gotten a cutaway death.
mhm.
And the fact that half the fight was in that infrared bad looking thing. I wanted to see the whole fight. And I
Mhm.
couldn't tell what the hell was going on with that infrared bit. But overall, for acting, the plot, because the plot was also pretty good, kind of bare bones, but it's a fun movie. It doesn't need to have an amazing plot. So overall, I'm giving it a 3. It's fun. I like it. I'm gonna rewatch it multiple times like I always do. And I'm gonna be happy about myself because I'm not in the jungle skinned alive.
Arnold made a fun point that I think in an interview, which I think makes sense. He said that the more enjoyable the movie is for the audience to watch is the more miserable it was for the actors to make. And this movie feels like these actors are suffering for our entertainment.
Well, to be fair, holy
When I'm like,
crap, it looked hot. That's the other thing.
yeah,
Most movies, they say it's hot, but they never look it. They're not like sweating back and forth. This one, oh my gosh, the sweat's always on their face. Carl Weathers had to take off his damn shirt. I'm sure that's for the ladies, but still, the movie felt hot.
yeah, when I'm watching these scenes, I don't feel like the actors are comfortable. I'm like, man, they look like they're burning up. They're irritated. It looks like they're really in that situation, basically, which I think adds to it. Yeah, you're right. In today's world, it's like you have action movies where the action stars aren't sweating, and it's like, okay, if you're doing this like crazy fight scene or whatever it is, like you would be sweating. Like, why is everything so clean and polished these days?
Sweating, bloody, because most likely you're getting hit. Not every hit causes nothing to happen. They don't even get bruised half the time.
Yeah, it's like this felt like a mean, you know, down and dirty type of like, environment basically with a bunch of macho tough guys. So I'll say this. I pretty much I echo everything you said in terms of the strengths. For me, the plot's actually great because I'm thinking in my brain that it's really an original story. Think about it. Maybe we've seen it now a million times, but back in the 80s, you're thinking about the idea of like a bunch of commandos in the jungle being hunted by an alien. There's really not too many movies like that. It's actually a really good plot. And the special effects were fantastic for what it was as well. Um, yeah, this movie, man, it feels like a hit of dopamine and a hit of testosterone, man. It makes me want to go to makes me want to go to the gym just watching this movie, man. I don't understand, but
But you
uh
already hit the gym today, so you don't need to.
I think it's because I watched the movie in the morning. I was like, man. So for me, honestly, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go 3.5 stars. I find very few flaws in the movie. For me, the only things were actually having the aliens show up on Earth in the first 30 seconds. I cut that scene out, and then you have an entire mystery thing. Um, the fight scene in Predator and Arnold, I don't mind how it's filmed. I just don't think it was needed. Predator's an efficient killing machine, and now he's like just taking time to beat the hell out of Arnold. It made me laugh a little bit. It took me the tension out a little bit. Um, but that's really it for me in terms of complaints. Everything else I think is top notch. It's a lean, I think, hour and 45 minutes. Every scene matters. There's really not much you'd cut out the movie. So for me, it's 3.5. And honestly, of the movies we reviewed, probably this is the closest one I can think of that's in my mind. Well, it's like the thing. They're both close to 4 stars. If I was going to give 4 stars, they're both getting close to it. But there's just those minor things that I'm like, okay, if I'm saying 4 stars is perfection, I can't say that. But I want to give 4 stars. I'm going to go with 3.5. Still putting it in 3.5 was only like 5 or 10 movies we've ever done that even got 3.5. So I'm going to put in that upper tier category. And it makes me want to watch more Predator movies, even though I know I'm going to be disappointed. So,
Well, just watch part 2 and then Predators, and you're done.
Prey is solid though.
Oh yeah, Prey, but
Just don't watch the Predator. I think the mystery element here is one of the reasons why this first one's so much better than the sequel is because it's like you can't really repeat that now that you know what the Predator is. It's not going to be as interesting in the sequels. So
you just got to add more action.
Yeah, but I kind of also think I'm with McTiernan. I think Predator used more as like a slasher horror suspense is better than it like as a than a generic action movie. When the Predator's hunting people, it's a little bit more interesting than versus like, people beating his ass or like, ugh. And there definitely should be. There should not be that much comedy in a Predator movie there. I feel like I heard the 2018 one had some comedy in it. I don't think the Predator should be comedic either.
No, like I said, what I do like about just a very quick thing. What I liked about the third Predators, is you get the mystery aspect of the world that they get plopped in, really, because they're no longer on Earth. Predators kidnapped them and put them somewhere else, and you find out it's a completely different variant of Predator too. So
yeah,
you get the mystery aspect back, just in a different way.
True. Well, folks. Normally I would say if you haven't seen this movie, go see this movie. But I fail to think there's a human being on Earth outside of maybe 6 people in Tulsa that haven't seen Predator. If you haven't seen Predator, get yourself some popcorn, sit down, get the Blu-ray, order on YouTube, find it on streaming. Treat yourself to watching it. Watch it fresh. Don't watch a trailer ahead of time. Don't read the plot summary. In fact, if you've already watched the podcast, you already know too much. So never mind. But hopefully, I'm assuming you've all seen the movie. So, but watch it again.
And as always, when you put on this movie to give it a nice, fun watch, make sure you get some popcorn, put some extra butter in it, and also pet your cat. The cat misses your pets. He wants pets. Just don't go for the belly. He'll kill you.